So today I'm speaking to Gareth Epps, who is a Lib Dem parliamentary candidate for Reading East. Nice to speak to you, Gareth.
Cheers, Mark. Good to bump into you.
Yeah, I just bumped into Gareth on the train, so I thought I'd grab a quick interview. We're probably only a few weeks away from the general election now, so I just wondered how your campaign is going.
Things are holding up nicely here. We're picking up members right across the constituency, which is good to see. We're getting no particular sign of a David Cameron surge. In fact, every sign of a Cameron glass ceiling. Labour in Reading have been in meltdown the last 4 or 5 years, and seeing very little evidence of any support for them. And in a seat that was Conservative Labour marginal, we're suddenly finding that a lot of people who maybe have voted Labour tactically, or maybe have not thought about the Liberal Democrats before, are seeing what we're doing and are really liking it.
And what kind of use are you making of email, social media and things to do with the internet in your campaign?
We do a lot. We have a lot of councillors very active on blogs and various social networking sites. I use Facebook very heavily. I don't Twitter very deliberately, but we do make a lot of use of the internet. We've got an extremely IT savvy population here with Microsoft and all sorts of other people around. And a very young population, so I recognise it's very important.
Yeah. It's not too long since the Lib Dem Spring Conference, which was about a week and a half ago. I noticed at Glee Club you were one of the chaps up front, actually doing quite a lot of the singing and kind of leading the troops in that way. Is that something you've done before? In fact, maybe just in case there's anyone watching this who doesn't know what Glee Club is, do you want to just quickly describe it?
For the uninitiated.
Yes, because to be honest, I was uninitiated until that one a couple of weeks ago. That was my first one.
The initiation can come in Liverpool. The Glee Club has sprung up as a tradition over the last 30 or so years, where we've had Liberals wanting to get together. Originally it was just around a piano in the conference hotel to sing various historical songs, going right the way back to Lloyd George and the Land Song, celebrating its centenary this year. And more recent songs that we've sung at the Liberal Review, some rather less reverent than others. But it's just one of those sort of communal events that sort of reminds so many of us why we're Liberals and what we're in to fight for. I sort of ended up by accident becoming one of the sort of impresarios of the event, even occasionally playing some music alongside John Hemming. And it's just one of those strange coincidences, which it's something that's evolved almost organically, some people don't particularly get on with it, but you get several hundred people absolutely loving it, and there's several journalists and indeed members of opposition parties who we've seen sneaking in and having their guilty pleasures there, so to speak.
So is it something that you intend to keep up then, kind of leading the troops in that way?
I'm not sure I'm going to have the stamina to lead it, and I know how tired MPs get around conferences. But we have a member of Parliament who tinkles the ivories for us. So I think having fun is a hugely important part of campaigning, and being able to keep the troops smiling and laughing. And I hope we never lose that as a party. We may get more professional, but we always need to remember, what we're in it for.
And just generally, how did you find Spring Conference?
I thought it was very upbeat. Conferences before a general election are always a slightly strange creature. You're always looking at very much election slogans. It's very rare you have heated debates on the floor. We did have one or two on the digital economy bill and so on. But I thought Nick and Vince have managed to go into an election really on a roll, with some messages very well thought out, very clearly expressed, and a party that's very much at ease with what it's being asked to do. And I think basking in some of the best publicity I've ever seen at any conference, let alone a Liberal Democrat Spring Conference, and that was the thing that really struck me. Everyone was talking about us.
Well, we're in Reading Station at the moment. Am I right in remembering, forgive me if I've got this wrong, that you actually work in something related to the rail industry? Is that right?
I do. I work for Crossrail, so I always have to be slightly careful what I say about matters rail related, but I also commute every day, and I can be slightly more open in my views about the quality of the train service.
I mean, just whilst we're here, how do you actually find the train service in and around Reading? Obviously, it's a huge interchange and hub for rail. I'm not sure if this is actually, is this in your
this is, yes, the station's is in Reading
right.
East, and there's about to be several £100 million worth of work done to build an entirely new station, a new concourse just 300 yards over to the west. Also to unblock what's one of the main pinch points on the railway network, both for freight and passenger travel. Obviously something we support, something that's many years overdue. The service that we get here is fast and frequent into London. Where we perhaps struggle is in terms of value for money, because the tickets are some of the most expensive in the country, and also because with the last stop on the line we get a lot of overcrowding. But some of the pressure that has been put on by commuters, the services have probably got slightly better in the last few years, but I'm conscious that the trains we were just on were built in the mid-1970s, and there's no sign of their replacements coming on stream. So a lot of issues for commuters to endure, and I've got several thousand people who commute out to Reading Station and back in every day from my constituency.
And what do you think about the government's plans for high-speed rail up to the Midlands and then up to the north and to Scotland?
I think it's the obvious logical step. It's taken them a long time to come around with it. I still don't quite understand why they can still be wedded to expanding Heathrow and going for a third runway at the same time as building something that really should seek to pretty much eliminate the need for short-haul travel within the UK. As someone who works in that sort of thing, it's going to be a tough call convincing some of the people who are going to be affected by the construction and having a high-speed railway next to them that things are all right. But if people look at what happened with the Channel Tunnel rail link down through Kent, people will see it's perfectly possible to have a very professionally built railway where some of the noise and some of the issues are very well mitigated. Just
one last question. In 2001, you were actually Lib Dem parliamentary candidate in Whitney, which is David Cameron's constituency. So obviously he was the candidate and then he became the MP. I just wondered what your experiences on that campaign were. And did you have him marked out as a potential future leader and even maybe future Prime Minister at that time?
I don't think you could really tell then. I mean, it was a very different Conservative Party with a manifesto that was based around William Hague talking about things like Britain being run from a foreign land. What I have never seen about Cameron is, although he's perfectly personable, talking to him one-to-one, he is someone who very much believes in the Tory core vote agenda. And he proved in that election that he was unafraid to pander to the Tory grassroots views on subjects like Europe in particular and immigration. I certainly don't think on issues like that, in particular Europe, Liberal Democrats are going to see any joy from him. And when Edward Macmillan Scott came over to us, I think that was the sort of the culmination of the sort of direction of travel of Cameron on that. Was he a future leader? Very difficult to tell. He was a slick PR man, but he had only recently come into the constituency. His predecessor Sean Woodward had gone off to join Labour, and he was really just trying to get to know the place. So difficult to see him marked out as leadership material, but amazing how things change. But I'm still not sure where the Liberal gene transplant happened. It seems to have unhappened again rather quickly.
Gareth Epps, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Mark.